Hello, Booktube friends. This is Nadine, and welcome back to Widely Reading. It is Tuesday, and this morning I saw a Booktube tag on Book Chat with Pat's channel, and it was really interesting, and it's called What is the Role of a Booktuber? And it was originally made very recently by Allison at Allison Annotated, which is a new channel for me that looks really great. So there are 6 questions, and let's get started with the first one. How do you view your role as a booktuber? Critic, curator, influencer, entertainer, educator? So I don't see myself as any of those. I see myself as a reader who hit the record button, and what I give is what I want to get from other booktube channels, and that is to find books that I would have never found otherwise. Under the radar, small press, just to explore my horizons, and that's what I hope I give to others. Question 2. Do you have any educational background in literature or literary criticism, either formal or self-directed? Do you have any other education or professional experience that you bring to bear on your reviews? Well, my educational background, my degrees don't have any bearing on this at all, but I do actually have kind of a self-directed story for English literature, which is that when I was about 30, I was working at a nonprofit human rights organization, and I discovered that my GRE scores were about to expire, so if I was going to go to grad school again, I would have to take them again unless I made a quick decision. So I decided to quit my job, get a part-time job to survive, and then go back to school and take some English lit classes, which I did at Cal State LA, which was a wonderful experience. And the whole Cal State system was great back then. It was really cheap to take the courses, and they were great. Being 30 years old and an undergraduate again, it was like a dream come true. And it's a city commuter school, so the students would range in age from 18 to 80, and we had the best discussions, wonderful professors. So what I decided to do after that was to spend the summer just reading everything that would be on the English Literature Achievement Test, since I had very little undergraduate experience with it other than Cal State LA. And so I did that. I took the test. I did really well because I had crammed all that reading into it. And then I decided not to do the PhD after all. I just didn't really want to write whole books or read endless academic articles, but instead I decided to become an academic librarian, where I was still around all of that stuff and worked in 9 stories of books, literature, everything, big academic library. And it was a good decision. Question 3. Do you typically do any research on either the book or the author before you review a book? Well, before I read a book, the only thing I do is try and learn what it's about, but I don't read any reviews because I don't want my review to be influenced by other writers. And I say writers because my reviews start on Goodreads. That's really my primary place to find books and my primary social activity. I've just started Booktube, but I write reviews there, and what I do is I'll let a book marinate for a few days, then I'll start and write a review, and then I'll go back and write a little more, and go back a little more, and then edit it up a little. So in little bits and pieces, I come up with everything that I thought about the book. And then for Booktube, I don't have bullet points. I don't have my review in front of me, but at least I have ideas from the review percolating in my head and hopefully coming out in some sort of coherent order. I think that's enough for question 3. 4. Do you focus your reviews more on the objective qualities of a book or more on your subjective opinions about it. I think I do 90% subjective opinions. My objectives is to give just enough sense of plot and characters to know what you're getting into without any spoilers or very, very minimal spoilers. Question 5. Do you review every book you read? Are there any reasons that you might read a book but choose not to review it? So every book that I finish, I do review, and if I've read at least half of it, and then DNF, I'll also review. But if I've just, picked up a few pages and said it's not for me, then of course I don't. Other reasons I might read a book and not review it. The only other reason is that I'm in a Buddhist book group, and for the reading that we do for that is just so specialized, I don't include it here, or most of the time in Goodreads either. Question 6. How do you feel about the fact that many people now primarily consume book reviews by hobbyists on Booktube rather than professional critics? What is lost and what is gained? So first, with the what is gained, a more democratic kind of book reviewing, and the more the better. Let 1,000 channels bloom on Booktube, or many thousands actually. So that's great. Something for everybody's taste. Of course, the downside is that there are fewer professional critics, and that's disappointing because professional critics, I find, are not just good analyzers of books, but they often write very well themselves, and a great review is just as much literature as the book it's reviewing. So I do miss that. It was tragic that the Washington Post no longer has a book section, but I think that a lot of the book reviewers, at least the well-known book reviewers, are finding their own avenues, I think through Substack and other things like that. Also, many journals still have robust reviewing, and so I don't subscribe to these, but my library does, and I can get them online. So I often read reviews that are in, I made a list, the New York Review of Books, the New Yorker, and the Atlantic. Of course, the New York Times still continues with their wonderful book section. There's also a website called LitHub, and they have a part of it called Bookmarks, and they gather together reviews from all different newspapers and magazines and everything. They primarily cover just big publisher books, but there are a bunch of reviews for everyone, and even if you can't get to the full text of it, they give you a really nice excerpt. And then, let's not forget podcasts. So I think some reviewers may be turning to that as well. And I also made a list of some bookish podcasts that I really love. And the first is The Mooks and the Gripes, then Across the Pond, Between the Covers, Poured Over, and Books on the Go. And before I finish talking about podcasts, I just want to make sure that everyone has heard of or has seen Michael Silverblatt's Bookworm. And it is an older podcast. Michael passed away a few years ago, so it's been a while. But Michael Silverblatt is the most beautiful reader in the world, or at least North America. And one reason you could tell that is, aside from what he says about a book, his podcast really interviewed authors, and he would interview debut authors and very well-known authors, and you could tell that all of them really were glad to be on the podcast and just admired him. They were in awe of him. And I remember one with David Foster Wallace, and that was a great episode, and you can see how appreciative David Foster Wallace was to be there. So, since we're having some large dog slurping going on, it seems as good a time as any to end the podcast, to end the episode. And thanks for coming by. Be good, be kind, be well, take care, and see you soon. And just when you thought I was gone, I'm back because I forgot to tag people. So I'm going to tag 4 channels. A Genteel Black Hole, LMA Book Club, Jen the Librarian, and The Great Literary Rabbit Hole. So thanks again. Bye.